Hello? All right, we have quorum, so let's get going. Get everybody in, and plus Greg, forum plus Greg. All right, so we're all set. All right, so we're gonna call the meeting to order and then pledge of allegiance.
All right, ready, Lynn?
Hello, everyone. Tonight with me, I have Liam Foy. He's a fourth grade student in Mr. Loya's class, and she's here to wish him good luck. Dedicated member of our community. He's here representing Memorial. His mom is here tonight, Amy, and I'm going to embarrass her just a little tiny bit because she recognized somebody on the front panel, and it was Marge from back in the days at the old Memorial, Amy Foy. So it's, yep. And I had to say that. So he has a pet golden named Cersei from the Game of Thrones, which is awesome. He enjoys everything about school. Math he seems to like because he likes addition, subtraction, fractions. He's not too big of a fan of the bar model. So Mrs. Largy, we're going to have to work on the bar modeling. All right, and Mrs. Deloy, we'll get him going on that. He loves to learn science about how things work, and we were talking about taking a look at that TV show, How Things Work. In the future, he wants to play soccer. He enjoys traveling with his family. They're headed off on a vacation later next month. He's also enjoyed going and traveling to Myrtle Beach. That's one of his favorite spots. With his friends at home, he loves to play soccer. He plays flag football as well. He's a big Boston sports fan. And likes to follow the Revolution soccer team. Mrs. DeLoya says that Liam's a kind, patient young man, often will help others when they're having difficulty in any subject, has a positive attitude towards learning, and sets a great example for everyone who he works with. He's a pleasure to have in class. So Liam's been great. He's a talented young man, one that always likes to take challenges. So if you guys want, please stand, and Liam's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey. Told him Steve and I used to have hair like that. Long time ago.
Many moons.
Still, I still do.
Huh?
He still does. Yeah, she's got great hair.
Exactly.
Goes out. And
Those that didn't hear, I told Liam that me and Mr. Harris used to have hair like his. It looks really cool. But obviously don't anymore. All right, so proof of posting.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. All right, so we're looking for a motion on the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes of January 7th as presented.
Second. I'm sorry.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes? No? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. Okay, cool. And, all right, so opportunity for the public to address the board? Everybody wants to speak to the board? No? Okay. That's good. All right, so presentation, special education update. And Adam, will you sign it? Sure.
get out of the way.
Yeah. Can I see your pen, please?
Stand back here, so you are trying to do both, or do you want me to go in here?
Oh, God. Can you stand up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, stand up here, Chris. Yeah, that'd be good.
Start with this.
That way we can see you.
Do you want me to walk it over to him,
Holistically.
Lindsay? Do you want me to walk it over to him, or just wait?
Look at
No, I figured I'd
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll sit over there. Okay.
You got a chance to say it.
So, as you guys know, the last couple of years I've done really huge, in-depth. I started off really small, but it kept growing because there's always a lot happening, and it's all reflective of a bigger system and a lot of other moving parts. So These are just some kind of important updates with where we're at so far this year. Obviously, we still have a half a year left, but this will give you a check-in point. So where we're at right now is we have about 309 students. That's of every student that we own preschool through high school. So what does that mean for each of our schools? Right now for Underhill, we have 11 students that are special ed in the preschool program, which is the help program that's on site at Underhill. Those are just the identified. And then K through 2, we have 39 students identified with 4 in process, for a total of 50 identified students at Underhill. What does that mean? So far, for Underhill, we've had 9 referrals come through for our parents, both pertaining to students at Underhill. The major areas of concern for those referrals were 32% of them were for academic, speech was 21%, and then 16% social emotional.
So
Yep.
are those in addition to the 50 that you just talked about?
So these are all the concerns that have been brought forward. So before a kid gets identified for special ed, there's a referral that triggers the process. So in some capacity, so if you have a concern about your own student, if you're a parent and it's your child, you would start the referral process. There's a form we fill out, or they write a letter, or they call and say, I'm concerned and I want to start the referral process.
So you're saying the other number was the needs that have been
The-
identified?
Those are the
and then-
current
okay.
population that is identified with a disability and in need of specialized instruction.
Okay.
And these 9 could be considered under the
These
umbrella.
9 mean that from the start of the school year, somebody, 78% parents or 22% teachers, has started the referral process for 9 students at Underhill.
So at the end of the year, if those 9 meet the criteria, we could have 59.
If they meet the criteria,
Okay.
correct. So, of all of these concerns that have been brought forward, as you can tell at Underhill, the majority of the concerns being brought forward are from parents. At Memorial, for grade 3, we currently have 20 students identified for special education, with 3 in process. Grade 4 is 19, grade 5 is 21 with 1 in process, for a total of 60 students currently eligible for special ed at Memorial. So far, we've had 14 referrals come through at Memorial. 40% of those concerns reflect academic concerns, 23% for speech, and 17% has been medical. Again, the referral source has been majority parents, 88% versus 12%. For Colley, we currently have 23 6th grade students, 21 grade 7, and 32 grade 8, for 76 students identified at Colley. Colley has seen 9 referrals come through. The major areas of concern that were noted, 27% of the referrals were for study habits, 13% for social emotional, and 13% for math. Again, the referral source was predominantly parents.
Christine, are you seeing that, so at each grade level, there's more, the population is larger for special ed students? There's more at Memorial than
I'd say
Underhill?
the population has remained semi-steady. What we have seen is an increase of concerns coming through for the referral aspect of special ed.
So have you seen that, say, a parent brings a concern when their child is in 1st grade
Mhm.
and they don't qualify?
Mhm.
Now they're in 3rd grade and they're still seeing those issues. Now
Mhm.
they make another referral.
Mhm.
And then, or potentially they don't make the referral until then,
Mhm.
or then they still don't qualify, they get to middle school. Do you see trends like that? Do you have a way of tracking how many times?
We're not specifically tracking that, but I do think that that is a trend for a lot of places for a couple of reasons. Is before we say that a student has a disability and requires specialized instruction, you really want to make sure that you've offered a slew of other interventions and resources and supports, because you can be a struggling learner and not have a disability and need a specialized instruction. Something can be hard for you and you might not qualify for special ed. So you really want to do all of those other items first. So your years in Underhill might be spent doing that. Same thing as you get into Memorial. I do think there's a trend of a spike of referrals at Memorial, given those grade levels and the shift from learning to read and reading to learn. Those gaps start to surface more.
Is that number 9 after people have been weeded out? So, for example, a parent, that's any parent that makes, or teacher that makes a referral is counted in that 9?
Correct. It doesn't mean they're all eligible or not eligible,
Sure.
because the process is actually a pretty lengthy process. So a lot of the referrals were coming in hot in November, December, which means they're still in process. So we won't know the outcome of those for probably another month or two.
Actually,
Go ahead, Lindsay.
So when you listed out the parents and the teachers referring, is that of the 9 or is that of?
That's at each school of the number of referrals that they came. So
For
of the
this year.
9 for this year, yeah.
Do you have any data on those that are in the program? Which ones?
Yep,
in from
I have that
teachers
from, actually
versus-
was in my last 2 presentations. I just didn't break it out by school. It was just kind of like, did I do it by school? Anyways, but yes, it's in those and I can easily pull that out. So,
Just one question. You indicate in the 3 schools of areas of concern. I was surprised that study skills could fall under that thing. I mean, I wasn't.
so
I
right, study skills is not a
I
disability.
needed English. Stayed after summer school for reading, but study skills. That seems I can't get my hands around that as being a area that would cover under the special needs program.
Usually
Some
in Cohen-
people just don't study
Right.
very good. I don't know if I just can't get my hand over how that would be
Yeah.
identified, but.
So
but
it's kind
we'll
of
just
like
leave it at
study
that.
skills, work habits. So oftentimes as students get older, 1, it's a harder skill to learn. 2, if you have difficulties with executive functioning, transitioning, planning, that can,
Okay.
sometimes qualify it under there, but
Thank
in and
you.
of itself, no.
I just kind of think, I agree with you, I kind of think that's more of I look back at that as, that's a parenting function. They should be sitting down and teaching them how to properly plan and sit down and study and, like,
So when we look at what the referral form has, so if a parent or a teacher, let's just say, those are the 2 common referral sources, because those, let me go back.
And plus the fact in the general curriculum, there are those moments where they're doing teaching skills, study skills that are incorporated somewhat into the program. Is that not true? So,
Well, you're looking at impact of the
What
classroom,
happens is
so.
parents, and I don't disagree, Greg, but, and this is something I've wrestled with in my previous district, is when parents see their children struggling.
Correct.
They automatically assume there's something wrong, and that they're very quick, some of them, to say, I want my child tested. And there's no real regulation as to, once the parent asks, we're obligated under federal law to do the testing. But as Chris has said, just because you are going to be tested doesn't mean you're going to
Right.
qualify. So again, of these numbers that you see, maybe it's 6 out of 9, or if our population, and I know you're going to get to it, is 16%, you figure if everything holds statistically, 16% of that 9 will qualify. The others won't. Sometimes parents keep bringing their kids back. That happens. But one of the things we're going to be trying to work on is with parents, educating them. We've gone away societally, developmentally, let kids develop and kids grow at different rates. And just because your kid's not, as Chris said, it's hard at a certain level, doesn't mean there's something wrong. And I don't know how many times I've had conversations with parents, especially when I was a principal, vice principal, but some superintendent as well, is there's nothing wrong with your kid. They're just developing, and we have enough ability to diagnose if there is a real learning disability, but parents have that, just to kind of wrap it up on this point, parents have that right to request.
Right.
Even though we may think, but once it's requested, it's only need to honor it.
So, we always try to do checks and balances. We don't make decisions based around the data, but the data helps us know if we are aligned with other districts around across the state. So currently, right now, K through 8, 16.5% of our student population is identified for special ed. We don't include preschool data because we don't know how many preschools are out there to compare identified versus non-identified. And for the state right now, the state average is 17.65%. If you recall, the last 2 years when I've given presentations, the percentage was like 14%. So as a district and as a state, the percentage of students who are qualifying for special education is increasing.
Sorry, just one last quick question on this. Do you think that increases because the categories are getting wider? And I'm not sure how the test is, if it's standardized, the categories, but I think as time progresses and things that maybe qualify for an IEP that didn't, maybe could inflate some of these.
So the laws around it haven't changed at all, so the criteria, the laws, no, I think there could be a lot of variables impacting that.
Parents are getting more creative.
I was gonna say, there's, education constantly is in flux and changing in how you do business. Parenting styles are changing, lives are changing, society's changing. There's a lot of changes that can potentially impact it, so. For our high school population, this is where we currently have special education students. If you look at the big picture. And if we the last figure was K-8 data for percent eligible, we're at 13.3% of our high school population being found eligible for special ed.
And that's a common trend because in many cases, children, they do have disabilities, they've been identified by the time they get to high school.
We have a lot of fluctuation, at the high school level with what those numbers look like for a lot of reasons.
Christine, what's the state number look like for that, do you know?
So their high school numbers are in that 17.65 because we're unique in that we don't have a
break it
high
up.
school, so
Right.
there's our district, yep.
Cool. Thank you.
So speaking of high school, last couple years, we've had a lot of referrals actually coming through at the high school level. This year, we've only had 2 out of all of our schools, so things are pretty stable. Of the 2 that were referred, they both were found eligible. However, there is an increase in number of students struggling with substance abuse and social emotional health, as well as students refusing to attend school. So this is what we're grappling with our high school partnerships right now.
The refusing to attend school, are
Yes.
students identified?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's sure there's non-identified as well,
Yeah,
but
but you don't have that number. You have some of them?
Yeah. We all help our high schoolers. In terms of where we have kids else besides the public high schools, currently there's 24 kiddos out in community preschools. We have 10 in process. Charter schools, we have 5 K-8 students attending a charter school with 1 in process. High school, we have 3 students in a charter school. Out of district placements, meaning the IEP team placed the student there, we have 2 K-8. Out of district high school, we have 15. So our total charter school placements are 8, and our total out of district is 17. So that's 25 students that we are monitoring, ensuring, supporting in a plethora of locations.
And that means we can't meet their needs in-house, so they're placed outside?
So charter schools, those are parents' choice. So if they choose to do that, we support it. Out of district means, correct, that we've exhausted all the resources at the schools we have, and the teams have said they need something more specialized. And,
And those other placements go beyond the traditional senior year. Do we know beyond the traditional senior year, the numbers?
So regardless of where a student goes to school, they have the right to receive education until they're 21.
Okay, so-
if their IEP calls for
So
it.
beyond, I don't know if I should ask, can I ask, I'll ask a
Not
question?
every child who has
Not
an
everybody,
IEP
no.
goes to 21. That's the easiest way to look at it. Some children whose services stop when they
Okay.
graduate from high school.
Right.
Okay.
Right, some get a diploma at 18, some get one at 19, some get
Some
one
get
at
it at
20.
21.
Okay, but those numbers would be
Reflect
included in
this,
that? Okay,
correct.
thank you.
So we've talked a little bit this year about DOE monitoring. This has been a new change as of summer, this past summer. They completely changed the way they're doing business. They're now looking at more of a multi-data approach. It was pretty singular before. They've developed a rubric when they're looking at 9 different state indicators. And the reason why they're doing this is that when it was cohort model, it was the same districts every year. And the state wasn't getting out to see what was happening in all the other districts. So their goal is to get to everybody. So what does this mean for us? They looked at our 2017, 2018 data. The 9 areas that they looked at are on the far left. How we scored is in the middle, and what our target is on the far right. So for suspensions, they look at, we want to make sure we're not overly suspending students with disabilities. We were fine on that. The next one is reading from our state assessment. This is an area of needs assistance. Our special education population scored 17% proficient. The state is looking for 19 or greater. For math, needs assistance, special ed students scored 12%, and we need to be 13% or greater. The next one is in yellow. This is the biggest one that we have a discrepancy on, which is education environments, looking at the percent of time that students with disabilities are being educated in the general classroom. We are at 65%. We need to be at 80 or above. Looking at preschool, same thing, the amount of time that children are in their program. This is an area of needs assistance. We're at 54. They want to see 56. Child find, we have timelines for when that referral process starts and the team decides to do an evaluation. That has to happen within 60 days. So we are meeting, the requirements for that. Early childhood transitions, we are meeting all the requirements for transitioning preschoolers into our schools. And they also look at the number of special education complaints for 2 years in a row. We haven't had any, so we meet requirements.
It's great. We're pretty close on a lot of these, which is
Correct.
good. The time in the general education classroom, what are the drivers of that for us? Is it something that we as a board need to look at, or is it?
It's something I started talking to Christina about. Currently, a lot of our assistants is what we call a block model, where they go to resource the teacher, so you're not in the classroom getting the curriculum. One of the models we implemented again in Rhode Island in order to address this, we went to a co-teacher model, where you have a special ed teacher and a regular ed teacher in the classroom together with the kids, and we saw a significant uptick in our assessment results, but we also met our requirements of 80% or greater, because your kids are receiving their services that way. So it's something we're looking at, and to go to that model would be costly.
Yeah, complete
You
reading.
know, in the long run, it certainly is something we might want to consider.
Well, we have an extra $1 million every year, right?
So, in your opinion of having done that, though, is the requirement from the state something that benefits the kids?
Absolutely. Benefits all kids.
Well, because
Co-teaching.
those don't always match up,
No,
so.
when you're talking 80% or greater, unless you'll always have a real small percentage of your population that needs a specialized program within your school. And even then, those kids should be mainstreamed or sent into as many regular ed classes as they can get into. But by and large, if you're being pulled out for a reading or for reading assistance, you're not in the classroom getting the curriculum. It's not you know, we're not building rockets to Mars here. If the kids aren't exposed to the curriculum, they can't.
Right, but if you have a child that can't necessarily read, then being in the classroom is not beneficial.
The old chicken and egg.
Right, so,
No, you-
so that's where my question
But
came
you,
from. What-
we have found that your good instruction benefits all kids, including those with a lower
Right.
reading level. You still can provide additional assistance. You can have remedial reading for that child. They would still get the additional reading, but if you're pulling a child out for 20 or 30 minutes or even longer, it's just gonna impact the gaps will just grow over years. It just exponentially grows. The child will never catch up.
So I have some of these things like on another slide, but we can dive into it now because this honestly, I think, is going to be the biggest hurdle to look at because it involves a change in thinking, a change of practice, a change in culture, a change in a belief, and a change in what's happening in classrooms. So this is reflective of a lot of variables coming together, but it's not okay that we're at 65. So
And to go back to the referral number, again, we just had initial conversations, is we need a more rigorous screening process. A formalized screening process before teachers can refer kids. Parents can refer children anytime. But teachers, again, going my own experiences, we had a higher number that teacher referrals that I was comfortable with, so we went to a formalized process that teachers had to go through before a child could be referred for education services. There's lots of times, as you talked about, is the kid just struggling? If the child's struggling, how can we help that classroom teacher with that child? So there's many interventions you can take before what I call automatically going to go. They get into this special ed service.
So for year one, this is year one for everybody because it's the first year of the new rubric. We scored 4 points on the rubric. Initially 6, but they were wrong, so we prevailed. It's 5 points that triggers the on-site review process. So given where we're at with the points, I am highly anticipating that next year we will get notified that for 21-22 will be selected. So some of the programmatic things, and this is aligned with what we were all just discussing. So there is a correlation between community pull-out services and lower test scores. Core instruction needs to always address and support all learners. IEP teams need to start to have a change in mindset. So if you're an IEP team, that's not just a special ed teacher, it's everybody at the table. Parents, administration, classroom teacher, special educator. Create plans that can address the deficits within the classroom. Behavior support, we've been working really hard with training staff around having that trauma-sensitive approach that can really support a lot of behavior regardless of where it's coming from. All levels of instruction, intervention, special ed classroom really needs to be looked at in conjunction with all of our resources and how we're utilizing them. Are we being effective? Right now we have data that says we're not being effective, so we need to be honest about that and really, take a hard look in the mirror and say we need to improve it and how.
And speaking to that, we just had a meeting today, Marks, myself, and Meg met with our principals individually to deal with these kind of questions and start taking the steps that we need to improve instruction for all our kids, because as Chris points out, good instruction will help all our kids regardless of whether they're special ed or not. And I agree with Chris's slide, that bullet up there that talks about that it's everybody. It's just not special ed's job to help the kids learn. It's regular ed teachers, it's our remedial staff, it's everybody. And that comes through good instruction, and we'll be working on, and again, it takes a while, how people that do a business, it takes some time to get people to start thinking differently, and we're in the beginning stages of it.
So shifting gears here and some other updates. This is just kind of big picture, where are we at financially. For the special ed budget, We're about $300,000 if you add up all of the special ed lines in the budget. Those big drivers for that are nursing services, contracted services, transportation, had vacancies, having to do contracted providers. But that's where we're at when we pool all those lines. Our IDEA grant is fully on track for full expenditure by September 30th. For Medicaid, we are anticipating less than $20,000 in revenue. Historically, we had $225,000 to $250,000. I guess the good news would be then for CAD aid, or which is now SPED aid, for reimbursable services. This year, we just got it today, so I just reworked this. We just found out we're getting about $455,000 back. Previous years, we qualified for $224,000. So given we just got it today, in my next board report, I'll have that broken down a little bit more. This just means that the services we're providing are required, expensive, costly, and so some of that will offset the lack of the Medicaid to kind of keep us in check, but that's where we're at for that. Some other things that are happening. This is wordy, but I'll just talk about it. This has been the most exciting thing that I've been doing. Been meeting regularly with a group of people down at the Hooksett Police Station. It's myself, the town prosecutor, someone from the police department, sometimes it's multiple people, the Merrimack County Diversion Program, there's either one or two JPPOs present, and sometimes other parties come in from other organizations. Manchester Mental Health is always at the table. So really, we've been working on this to make sure that all parties from all the different walks of life in Hooksett know the role of each other and how we can support each other in order to, help the kids in Hooksett, basically. Some things that we've been working on so far, we've started a partnership with Manchester Mental Health that's in process and under development, but we've been able to connect and start to formulate what a more formal kind of relationship could look like with utilizing them in our schools. We've started to create some resources so that each school administrator and teachers know more clearly what some of those resources are and how they can help kids in schools. Admin training, you guys don't know this yet because I haven't emailed you, but there's been some changes with truancy protocol. So some of those key players at that table want to come in and work with the administrative team here in Hooksett to make sure everybody knows what that truancy protocol looks like so that we can all work together to get the kids here in school. And just having those open conversations with the SRO at the table and someone from the school district and the other parties, it helps to keep everybody in line and make sure that we are all understanding how we're supporting our kids. It's been wonderful, and I'm very happy that they started this up again. Some other big things we've been seeing here in Hooksett is an increase in students that are homeless and foster placed. It's been happening a lot, and it's happening frequently. Kids are coming and going very quickly in terms of either needing a home through the foster care system and they come to Hooksett, or they're leaving Hooksett and going somewhere else. Same thing with homeless. When that happens, if they belong to Hooksett, they belong to Hooksett. So if they go to another school, because now they're homeless and they qualify for McKinney-Vento, I follow them. We make sure they're all set. Same thing for foster. I'm following the foster kids. As they come and go, we're working with the partner districts, we're working with guardian ad litems, we're working with DCYF, the courts, to make sure our kids are taken care of, and that's special ed or not. There's more than special ed. And like I said, it's important that we follow each kid and make sure that they're going to school, that they have what they need, and that they are, people are working in the best interest of the child. And then lastly, just a quick update on Title I. Not too much has changed for Title I. We reallocated some people. So this year we've had one full-time person at Memorial, one full-time person at Underhill, and we're still doing 4 teachers before and after school at Collie. But again, pull out. Ideally, we want to get to a point where, because Title I has to be supplemental, I'd love to get creative and work with people to move towards more of that before and after school model so that kids get their full school day and then additional supports outside of the school day. It's not feasible. A lot of times it's complicated with the younger kids. It's early or it's late, there's transportation. But ideally that would be the case. And we are in the process, currently have a vacancy for a part-time person at Underhill and a vacancy for a part-time person at Memorial. In the process of contracting a part-time math tutor to come in and help support at Underhill. And given where we're at in the year, be happy to share performance data of kids coming and going from Title I at the end of the year. And that is it.
So if Title I has to be not during this regular school
It has
hours?
to be supplementals, which means that they can't be working on classroom content. They're working on deficits. And it can't be during instructional core time. So a lot of the schools have built in additional time for kids to receive that instruction that's in addition to. But like a teacher, if you have a Title I student that's struggling in class, the teacher can't look at that student and say, oh, this is really hard for you, go see Title I, because then that's now not in addition to, it's in place of. But the easiest way to do that is to have it be outside of the school day.
It sounds like those initiatives are really great. Thank you for doing that
Thanks.
Thank you.
with the community, the wraparound services.
Yeah, and again, everybody's been really dedicated, and I thought I knew a lot about what we had out there, and I'm learning more, so it's
Great.
good.
Awesome. Thank you. Is that all signed? Yeah. Give it to Amy. Pass it down to her.
I'm sorry, I'm not here to pass things along.
I know, I hear you.
Literally the middleman.
It's hurting my back. All right, cool. So next up, manifest. Who's got the manifest?
I do, sorry. Swinton. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve January 21st, 2020's manifest in the amount of $1,272,652.17.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nobody. All right, cool. So, moving to old business. And so actually, if you guys look on the copy that you have of the warrants that's in your package, and you look at number 6. So we had this discussion in a non-meeting a few weeks ago, and now it's pretty public. So I'd gotten a question about the property at Memorial.
Not in this, not on the warrant.
Yeah, it's on
on the
the
warrant.
warrant. It says
Number
warrant on the
6.
front, and then
It's 2-pager.
Amy passed it out
Passed
before.
it out.
It's-
Number
I
6.
didn't realize that was becoming a warrant.
So that's the
The
discussion.
discussion.
So basically, the reason why it's, again, that's draft wording that came from Gordon. So after we had a discussion about, we're in support of the idea, we talked about the fact whether it had to be a warrant article or not, if we were to say, and somehow let those guys use a piece of property that we own, et cetera, right? Or transfer ownership or whatever, we're going to lease it, whatever. So the particulars of it are for working out down the line, but to try not to hold up their process and what they want to do, I thought we could take a look at it and see what you guys think. And it doesn't, again, so the warrant is worded so it doesn't mean we have to do anything. It's just freeing up our hands to do something if we want to, is basically how it, is that where it is, Bill?
Not waiting an additional year.
Correct, not holding it up the process for a year. So, again, they actually had provided some like sample wording, and I took it, and Bill gave it to Gordon, and he looked at it, and actually, this is Gordon's wording here, and he looked at it and approved it and stuff, so. If you guys want to discuss it, yeah, Jim, go ahead.
It's good to know that the date for us to consider this is still available. I thought it was last week, but that's good. I know this particularly this particular piece of property has been looked at previously on whether we need it, and there's no, and can confirm that there's no need for the school district to use it. So having other options for this piece of property makes sense. Two questions. If, for some reason, it fails, I don't know what no means on this case, but my thought is, you said something, you mentioned lease.
So we have
What's the
an idea.
possibility of doing, instead of, would the school district itself, as the school board and our authority, have the ability to lease a piece of property for the same purpose, say $1 for 50 years or 100 years, instead of requiring it to go to the voters? Would we have that option as well in our authority to lease town property and I thought I heard someone saying, if for some reason things don't pan out, and I hopefully it will, if we vote to convey that, if the district conveys it to them, even though we have to work out on the details and agreements and so forth, if it doesn't come to fruition, things don't work out, is there a fallback that it reverts back to the school district? So those are two questions. Can we have authority to lease it for $1 for 100 years, whatever it may be, or does it require a vote of the voters to? Of course, we're going to be selling it, ultimately giving it away. We're not
Well,
going to
not
own it.
necessarily. We may
So-
be holding it.
So that would be-
Jim,
those are two questions. I don't know if we can answer those now.
The way it's worded is that
Just giving us
whatever
authority.
terms the board, you would have to agree on whatever those terms are, whether it would be a lease, a sale, it would be determined by the board.
Okay.
And absent board approval, there's no agreement.
So Jim, to your point,
Thank you.
this covers all the scenarios, but to your point, if voters voted it down, then there's no way of skirting around it. So we're giving them the option of giving us the ability to not give the property, whatever, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but, parlay, convey.
So that's the only my
right?
concern. If for some reason it fails.
It is what it is, and no means no.
So I was thinking, in lieu, we can just lease it if that's an option on our own authority without district voters' approval.
I would say,
That's where
No,
that's all I
all
have to say.
land, even though the land, according to Gordon, any kind of land transfer has to be approved by the voters.
Okay, here's the answer. Thank you.
Mike?
So I guess my follow-on to that is, if you're not transferring ownership, which it doesn't sound like we want to do that anyway, but if you're not transferring ownership, do you really need to go to the voters for it?
deferring to Gordon.
I'm not, again, I'm not an attorney and I don't practice one at
Like one on
night,
TV.
or play one on TV. I think the question, I believe it falls down to terms and conditions that you would agree to. And I believe that, again, Phil probably can speak to it better. The intent is, the way I read it, is if the board determines they get an agreement that they want to sell it, you can do so or grant it, because you're giving it up. Lease, obviously, we're holding on to it. So if you decided to lease it, I think this is moot. I mean, again, I'm not an attorney, but I believe it's a moot point because you're leasing it. This is for if you want to move forward and actually give the property to somebody else. And you can determine what that property would be used for in the agreement, that it can only be for a community center.
Well, I guess I go back to I guess my central argument is, if we do this and they come back with a no, that project is derailed until next year. And I understand that we're trying to do this proactively so that we would be able to do this before next year, but this could ultimately backfire on you and then prevent you from doing anything for a year. So do we really want to go down this road is my question.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, so time is of the essence, right? And so we don't have an agreement in front of us right now basically it needs to be our attorney get together with the sewer department attorney and the sewer commission, and then also their attorney to try to iron out some type of agreement, which, is obviously not gonna happen in the next week or so. I think we have till Amy, is it the 20 what? 27th to get everything in, all
According
the
to Gordon,
articles?
it says the 27th.
So by the 27th, we would have to have some kind of agreement locked in, which I don't think is probably going to happen. You know what I mean?
And I get that, but But ultimately, we could end up shooting ourselves in the foot, is what I guess I'm trying to say.
Right. Well, the thing is, you have to come down on one side or the other. So we don't know at this point, I think, if we're gonna lease it or if we're gonna sell it. And so if we don't put it on there, and then if the option is that we wanna convey it onto them, we can't. So that, we're backing it up a year that way too. You know what I mean? So it's,
I think to
Yeah.
Mike's point, if they have a year to develop a plan and that's presented to the community, then there's support for that transfer to happen. But if we're asking for a transfer to happen with no plan, it puts, it's again, the cart before the horse or the chicken before the egg or whatever. I don't know.
I guess my question is for Bill. Are you asking us, you're supporting this, you think we should do this?
Did the homework because Phil asked me to.
so yeah, he's,
That's not a
he's,
yes
I don't.
He's not
no,
coming down on either side.
I don't have a position on it. I mean, this is really a board question. I normally like to have things personally lined up before I would go to the voters and say, here's why, what we need it for, here's the plan, will you agree to it? I'm not sure, I mean, the downside is you have to wait a year, but would it increase the chance of passage by having a more complete plan to the voters? I mean, that's the ultimate question.
Do we know if they have gone to any other, like the sewer department or town council for any other warrant articles that are going to be put out?
I haven't seen that.
Or is this going to be
We
the
were there
first
when
one?
they read them out the other night. I don't recall
it wasn't
anything
No?
pertaining
Okay.
to the community.
Yeah, I think we're putting the cart before the horse too, then.
Yeah, no, again, I'm in the middle, guys. I'm just, again, I was trying to, people, you know, reach out to me, et cetera, and I said, okay, I'll try to get something together, you know, before the warrant goes out,
Well,
whatever.
my other question is, are we absolutely sure that the 501c3 nonprofit, the actual organization is called the Hooksett Community Center? Or is there some other entity that is
It's a
labeled
different-
as? Like, is it 501c3 filed with the Secretary of State, et cetera, et cetera?
Didn't you look it up?
Yeah, it was.
And that's what the title is? Okay,
It has to be exact, yeah.
yeah. Because if you mess that up, you can't do anything.
I
But again, that's why we're bringing it up for discussion. If you guys think the cart's before the horse, that's fine. We can give the thumbs down and I'll put it on the warrant. It's fine. I mean, either way, you know, I'm good with either way. To your point, I mean, that's the discussion Bill and I had on the box. He goes, we just had one discussion on this and kind of said, like, you know, we all thought it was a good idea, but there hasn't been a ton of specifics, and now we're kind of like, you know, getting things moving fast.
It'd be different if we had some kind of plan in place, or there was a
Right.
timeline that, you know, people had already looked at. and-
Well, that's what I mean. Then the actual agreement and the best avenue for us would come from our attorney, sitting down with the other two attorneys and figuring
I
out.
also think if the board did go forward with it, we'd be at the deliberative session doing a lot of him and a homina.
And not having the answers.
Without having any answers, other than we think it's a good idea, and I don't think that's conducive to getting voter support.
Well, Rick, I think if I can, I think I'd rather give the authority to the board to lease if it doesn't require, because of course, if we're gonna sell it, Mr. Gordon, what's his?
Graham,
Graham, you're gonna say Ramsey for some reason.
that's okay.
Uh,
I wouldn't mind.
We certainly would have to do that because when the school district gave, even for $1 to the town, where it needed the voters for the village school. The other, you know, I just lost track of what I was gonna say. And our point would be, from us, we have a piece of property owned by the school district that has no need by the school district for here until forever. So our point would be just say, we do not need this, we don't need this piece of property. It's being made available to this group. Regardless of whether we like the community center or not, personally, that's not, we're just saying, as a school board, we no longer need this piece of property. We don't necessarily have to comment on how good the community center will be or it can become. So,
Sounds
I think I'd rather hold off and lease it and then work out the details. And if things happen to fail, then we can't do anything for the year. But something could happen with this group, the community center group, that everything could fall in line in September of this year. But they can't do anything because we'll have to wait another year and put it on the ballot again, so.
Yeah,
I think
but-
the question of lease or giving them the land comes down to the proposal.
Correct.
Right.
That's what I mean, John. I don't think we can,
I don't think that's right now.
this time,
We
I
need
mean,
to
the
see
The way this
something.
is written, I read it as it's giving us the option to do
It-
whatever.
It would
right
give
now
us the
at this
option to
point.
do
Right.
whatever the future may hold. That's
Right.
how it's written.
I just don't like putting this on the ballot myself. To your point, we're gonna be hemming and hawing and not gonna have answers. And this will be some, first time for some people.
Like, because some
to hear
people
about
ask,
this.
well, what about this community center? What's the size of the community center? There's all sorts of questions that we're not prepared to answer.
We don't even have conceptual drawings or anything else
Right.
to make the argument, so we're a
Yeah.
little bit blind here.
Yeah.
well, Mike, the other point that you brought up before too is, and I look at this, so I'm on zoning too, obviously, and it's like, once you grant a usage, right? So, to Jim's thing about the lease, so once we convey the property, however we do it, say we do a 100-year lease, we're on it, right? And if something, God forbid, goes on that we don't think is savory, or, whatever, we own it, you know what I mean? So that's the other part of it. And maybe, again, like what they do like at airports, where like after so many years, the actually ownership reverts back to the authority that's there, you know what I mean? So I don't know, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, so.
Do you need a motion to
Call.
remove this off the?
I think he's gonna.
No, I don't think,
We haven't added it.
we haven't added it
Oh,
yet. This is
okay.
just a draft. and
This
kinda
was
look at
just
the
for your
wording.
review.
So, yeah, I mean, the
You straw
feedback.
poll from us about whether or not to put it on?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be good. I mean, similar to what we did in the non-meeting, just, you know what I mean? So, I mean, who would be in favor of actually, as it's
Need to
worded,
make a
putting it
motion.
on the one? We can
Someone
make
would
a
have
I'll
to
make the
Make
motion
a motion.
that we move Article 6 to the ballot for the 2020 warrant.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. That's it? Okay.
Talk about it next.
Yeah. I mean, that's the feeling. Again, if you not, everybody feels like they're in support of it, it's just, we don't have, move forward enough down the line yet. Okay. So, that, actually, so warrant
We've already
articles.
done warrant articles. Amy,
Actually-
haven't we already approved them?
Yes.
We've
So we
approved
don't
1
need-
through 5. We had that on there in case you wanted
Right.
to add it.
Right. So we're
you don't-
good.
You don't need it.
So the only thing that I added on there was what the budget committee votes were for
Okay.
each of the warrant articles.
So we still need to sign this. And you'll just take out the page with the additional. Yeah, okay, so that's,
That way nobody has to come up.
yeah.
So the copy we have minus 6 is.
Yes.
Right.
That's what's going to be presented.
Okay. So, moving on, update on full-day kindergarten pilot program.
Yep,
That's yours,
we had
Bill?
another kindergarten subcommittee meeting prior to this meeting. We are in the process of working on possibly having more than one all-day K session. And we should have something for our February 3rd meeting, more concrete, that we'll have on the overhead, and I call it the overhead, shows my age, up here on the screen. I mean, whatever, having a flashback. We'll have a more concrete proposal whether or not we can expand beyond one, but we're confident that I think we can have more than one, but we're still not quite there yet with our.
So, I guess for folks on TV, right? So, we're going to definitely do at least one full-day K
Absolutely.
class this fall. And we actually went to Underhill and looked at all the classrooms, and we're in the process of, again,
Yep.
moving space, whatever you want to call it, to try to like actually add more classes. And obviously, we won't be able to do a full-blown thing this year because we obviously need teachers to teach, and that's not in the budget. But our goal is to get the full-day K across the board. So we're starting in baby steps. And the one step, we know we'll have one full-day K this year.
absolutely.
And now Bill's saying we may possibly have 2. So that's good news, I believe.
At least 2.
Yeah, at least 2.
We'll see.
We'll move down, Adam.
Yes.
Please. Okay, so that's the update on that. Draft calendar, new business.
We have the board has the proposed 2021 calendar and seeking approval, so we can get this out to parents.
So Lindsay, what do you think?
We never got the
Adam?
pink, we never got the, I never got anything from Pinkerton as far as what their calendar looks like, but I didn't want us to wait, so
Yeah.
here it is. And this is the new format. Marge, you want to explain the format because of the OCR?
Well, the only reason that we went to something a little more modern instead of having our calendar in Excel, because it didn't pass.
She looks at me when she says that. I inherited the calendar. I didn't
So
create it.
other than that, I mean, it's a regular calendar with months and days and, but it is readable should anybody need it in accessible format.
The October PD Day, is that an SAU-wide
Yes.
PD?
Yes, it is.
Do you know when Pinkertons is coming out? Or we don't?
I haven't, it was, Dr. Powers, I thought we were going to get it sooner than we did. We haven't gotten it. I thought it would be sooner. We can ask him Thursday night at the dinner.
That's what I'm wondering, yeah. Is it worth just holding on?
Oh, no,
to
it's
this
no, I think
until then?
I think we can, it's up to the board. I would, our calendar's our calendar,
Yeah.
so it's up to the board, how they want to do it. How you want to do it, I should say.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, you guys are good?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Lindsay, you got something?
No, I guess it's good. Yeah. I'm hoping we'll have attendance on December 23rd, but, that's really,
Yeah,
other than that.
cool.
Again, that's, that's board, not to not take ownership, but that's preference. The philosophy is let's have the day, and if some parents keep their kids home, okay, keep them home, but you get the day in. That whole week is tough whenever you're going to break for Christmas, so. So if, let's say you took the Wednesday off playing devil's advocate, then Tuesday becomes that Wednesday. So at some point, you gotta draw the line. so to
It's
speak.
happening at my work.
Yeah, right, people go, and you look at the
Thursday's
calendar.
Christmas,
Really,
the day
for
before
some,
off, and now it's
December
like a
18th is really the last workday, for a couple of weeks.
And now people are like, God, can we just get the whole week off?
Right?
Now, the board could put it off if you wanted to until the 3rd of February 3rd, and hear what
I say
Pinkerton has
keep
to
it.
say. It's up to you guys.
I say keep it.
You
I didn't see anything else.
like it? That's good.
We can always
Those kids
modify
back
it.
to
Yeah.
school.
Entertain
We can always,
Yeah.
if something drastic happened, we could always change it.
Jim?
The calendar looks good, just, and I know we have a primary on the 8th. No concern, Carly, to deal with the primary vote on the 8th of
It
September.
would be like today.
Be like today.
Would be
Well, be a little bit more,
Might be a little more. We're okay.
because you have the senators and
we'll
state
be
reps.
all right.
Okay.
Wait, on what day?
November 8th?
September. No, September.
September 8th is the general
Oh, the
primary for
Yeah.
senators, congressmen, and so
Yeah.
forth, so no problem. Okay.
In-state.
So they'll just have lunch in their classrooms? Like that?
We have to have school sometime
I
in the fall.
know.
You look at November and it's like, holy
Yeah,
cow.
November.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the 2021 calendar as presented.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Wow, I think that was the easiest calendar we ever had.
It was just,
Nice, Bill, look at that.
Nothing, I just presented. And so I should put a disclaimer, subject to change.
All right, so co-curricular nominations.
Yes.
What up next?
Sorry about that. We have one. Go to it. It's girls lacrosse, Marie Lander.
I'll make a motion to approve the co-curricular assignment for Marie Lander as girls lacrosse.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nobody. All right, cool. So, policies.
You have, I can speak this time because I
Yes.
was here for the first one.
Please do.
I'm asking the board to accept the second reading with the amended changes that you approved at the last meeting.
Okay.
And you see on EEAC, we struck that sentence. that we-
reading. Motion to approve the policies for their second reading.
I'll second.
Second reading, it should probably
Do you want me to
include,
read
and,
them all?
no, I would include, approve the second reading and adoption.
And adoption. Okay.
I'll second again.
Any discussion? All's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody.
Thank you.
All right. And opportunity for public to address the board. Jillian, you got anything? No? All
I
right.
just have one thing. The delegate assembly is Saturday.
Okay.
So if you guys read your emails with the resolutions, if you have any feedback for me, let me know before Saturday.
Thank you.
I don't think there was anything too crazy, but we have to vote one way or another. And one of the ones, like, kind of like with the special ed stuff, when there's, I forget which district it was, put it forward that if the state is mandating something take place, that they need to provide the funding for the local districts to be able to
It's a novel
support
thought.
it. So we'll see how that goes. It would be nice.
Are we going to have a quorum for the next meeting? I know there were a lot of people that
Oh,
said.
yeah, that was a big
I think it
change.
was like a
The
couple of
February
time.
3rd was a change to accommodate myself because I will be out of state on the 4th. So I put the 3rd out there as, because
I saw a lot
5th,
of
I'm in,
those.
on the 5th, I'm in Candia
For the deliberative.
for the deliberative session.
I can be here on the 3rd. I don't know who else can.
That's why the 3rd was put on.
Monday.
so it
no.
could be there.
No, no, come on, man. You
No,
asked.
I'm not. I can't.
So, you out? So how many's out?
Oh, the third, yeah, Monday works.
Yeah, Monday's. So the gym, there's 2. Adam,
I'll be here Monday.
you can make 3? Okay, so there's 3. We need 1 more.
I can do it.
Cool, so that's 4. Okay.
And perhaps if we could on the, just, if we could put on the agenda just an item, budget delivered session prep, something, so we have any last thoughts on our presentation and
We'll
how,
include it.
who.
Yep.
Because I know we've been assigned what we're gonna do, but,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think we need bullet points.
Oh,
All right, so, actually, I don't know if you guys saw too, just to mention something. Did you guys see in Vermont, they're pushing to give all kids free lunch? Across the state of Vermont? I never saw that.
They have more.
I'm not in favor of
so
that,
that's
but
good.
whatever. Yeah. So I was like, wow, holy shit. Well, they started like in one district, and they're gonna try to make it statewide. So who says there's no such thing as free lunch? All right, so, enrollment reports, everybody good? You review those, like numbers and all that stuff? Non-public? We don't need one. I'll entertain adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And thanks to the board,
Opposed?
thank
Nope.
you, board, for remembering.